Guten Abend, everybody. Um, or good morning, good afternoon for anybody watching at all times. Welcome back to Teutonic Tangents, where we talk about everything history, culture, religion, DNA, do video games, we do it all. And today we got a really deep one, a really cool one, really cool idea by Tyler. Um, it's probably going to be a little over an hour for the talk. It could go even longer, which I don't really care. It's a really good one that we came up with for an idea. So we're gonna do something a little different. We're gonna be touching on from like books that we haven't before. So, Tyler, I'll let you. It's your idea. Go ahead and take it away. And and then tonight I will be having a little bit of the wee dram of whiskey to go with it. Have a nice sip and chill while we get really deep for this. Probably hour and a half to 2 hours. So,
Yeah, this is probably
Tyler, go
definitely
ahead
going
and
to be a
explain.
longer one.
Yeah.
So I don't really know what sparked this idea for me, but I'll just get right into it. The main premise for this video, other than the drinking whiskey and having fun, hey, nothing wrong with that. Uh, we're going to be. It started out as we was going to compare biblical stories and old sagas, like sagas from the Poetic Edda and Prose Edda. But we were talking about that. We're gonna save that for a later episode. And for today's episode, we're actually gonna do a comparison between the book of Revelation in the Bible and the end times prophecy and the prophecy of Ragnarok on the Germanic pagan side. And we're gonna compare those, see what's the same, what's different, make some comparisons, just talk about it and have some fun with that.
Not to mention the point you brought up earlier that was really funny. Um, like both very fitting. I got the little Germanic Mjolnir cross. Tyler pointed out, just like I'd noticed, it looks like a good old badass German iron cross. But
Yeah, it is.
yeah, it's actually yeah. So I like it because I love that kind of stuff. But also it's a Mjolnir, but it's basically just a Mjolnir wheel. It's a Mjolnir cross. So I got that in the Mjolnir, and then Tyler he put on his cross and he's got the good old cross shirt on. I think we're really ready to go. Two sides of it, so that's gonna be really cool.
Oh, also, my pastor just recently found our podcast on YouTube. I sent him the link for it. He's been watching our videos. So, Rob, if you're watching this one and I mess something up or I forget something in the Revelation prophecy, don't attack me. Don't come after me. I'm trying my best.
And yes, hello, Rob. If you see me, it's very nice to hear about you. And yeah, well, hopefully we do it justice for comparing two different um, faiths, cultures, or religions. So yeah, I'll do my best to pull from my side of it and make decent comparisons.
All right. So, I guess without further ado, let's get started, shall
Hmm.
we? So, the first comparison that we're going to work on, and we're going to do this point by point. I have 10 different points for mine for the Revelation, and I'm going to go through one. Then Cody's going to go through and compare the same thing on the Ragnarok side because the first one is about the vision of the end times. So on my end, John the Apostle, not John the Baptist, are two different people. John the Apostle, he gets a vision from Jesus about what's to come. He sees. I'm just gonna read from my notes here, and then I'll elaborate on it a little bit. So John the Apostle receives a vision from Jesus Christ while exiled on the island of Patmos. Jesus tells him to write messages to seven churches, warning them to remain faithful because judgment and tribulation are coming. So the key themes for that is obviously stay faithful and the world will grow darker before God restores everything. And that vision goes on later into uh he sees the angels, the seraphim, the cherubim, the archangels. He sees God sitting on his throne in heaven with a scroll that has seven seals on it. He sees the seven seals breaking, and that kickstarts Armageddon. So I guess I'm gonna stop yapping now and let Cody get into the vision part for Ragnarok, so we can get a comparison going there before we dive a little deeper into it.
that was really cool. Um, I like that one. Where did you say that? I was curious. Where did you say? Um, what island was it? Like,
Patmos.
where is that at?
I have no clue. Like I'm trying
Is
to
it like
think
an
of
unknown?
where it would be like modern day sense. I have no clue.
Yeah, that was fascinating. So I was wondering if it is just like you could just Google it. If it was like, oh, they say,
Yeah,
oh,
I
Google
probably can.
Maps.
I probably can.
Well, I meant like Google Maps. Oh no, I mean I know you can Google it. But I was like, oh, I wonder if it's like a Google Maps. If it's like actually on Google Maps, or if it was like it's an ancient term. I didn't know. Might be silly to ask, but
It's
I was
in
like, oh, I
Greece.
wonder what that's at.
I was thinking Greece
Greece.
whenever I read it, but yeah, it's in Greece, which makes sense
Wow.
because the New Testament is written in Greek and coined Greek.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Yeah. Little side fun thing before I get into mine actually. The Bible, it doesn't speak about him because like it speaks about Galatians, the Gauls. It's in like the first part of it, the Gauls, basically people from the Celtic people of France and stuff. Um, but it talks about all these people. But fun fact, actually, Germanic people should have been in the Bible. Like a lot of like slavery things that were happen for certain like Mediterranean people or um, anybody out in the Middle East when they would take slaves. You hear about Galatians, you hear about all the different books where it talks about these people, but or Romans obviously, but yeah, Germanic people were not in the Bible, but they were indeed slaves, and they were there for crazy, like big slavery movements, and they would be taken all the way out to the Middle East, and it's like Germanic travel area, like the days of the Romans when they were in charge. So yeah, it's always a fun fact. I just found that out yesterday. Yeah, because you never hear about them really in the Bible. It doesn't talk about Germanic people. It only talks about like Galatians, Romans, Greeks, and Middle East people. So pretty cool. Um, so yeah, so the Völuspá, it literally says it literally means like it's a prophecy of Ragnarok, and then literally like Völuspá literally means
You never
literally
done that before?
literally means I have, but it literally means the witch's prophecy. So told through the person of a deceased witch or soothsayer, Volva. So you guys know the thing about Odin. Um, or like Woden for any other Anglo-Saxon pagans out there. Um, he was very much a god of the dead. He was big on animating the dead, like, reanimating them or whatever you want to call it, and speaking to them. And that's very much something that even in all Indo-European cultures or religions, people would kind of do with, you go to a barrow, like you go to your dead person, your dead family member's grave and speak to them. You can seek wisdom, you can seek all that kind of stuff. So that's basically what Odin's doing when he's hearing about these things from the witches, the Volva. And getting into the matter of Ragnarok, um, and I start speaking about it. Let's see. Aha. All right, I'm very much right here. So, um, when we start talking about it, we see really the biggest thing I think about in terms of like the big signs you start to see is really when brothers and like the biggest signs, it talks about just all these signs, mainly like you see like a lot of like nature, I feel like constant like themes like nature, a lot of things you see. Um, so right here we see Fenrir howls terribly before the doors to hell. And just so anybody who knows hell and the Norse or any Germanic faith, it's not what you think like hell, but hell is a Germanic word, and it's with one L, and it's a cold place actually. Even people who've done no wrong can go there. It can be a place for the sick, if people just didn't achieve a very honorable death. But the wolf will break its bounds and run. I know much wisdom. I see deep in the future, all the way to Ragnarok. Dark day for the gods. And this is the big one right here. A lot of people might know it. There's a lot of TV shows, Vikings, where like it like made a huge like little dramatic scene out of it and stuff. But brothers will fight one another and kill one another. Cousins will break peace with one another. The world will be a hard place to live in. There will be an age of adultery, an age of the axe, an age of the sword, an age of storms, an age of wolves. Shields will be cloven. Before the world sinks in the sea, there will be no man left who is true to another. That's like it's pretty heartbreaking. You got even like cousins and family members who would gladly, like in the end days, will turn on each other, and break peace. And just literally, not even just fight to like. And we've talked about this in the Culture of the Teutons episode, and that kind of like, if I wouldn't have read that, like this, like, I've read this before, but for me, it's even more beneficial because I've read that. But we talked about how the worst crime you could ever commit, the most horrible thing, would be to hurt or kill one of your own family members or kin people. So, for a Germanic mindset, Teutonic mindset, this is like the ultimate horror. Like brothers will fight, not just fight one another, but will kill one another, and cousins will gladly break peace. So I think for signs, I'll stop there because this is, you hosting the episode. I want you to keep going with your stuff. But I feel like just from that, there's more signs here. Obviously, it goes through. That's the whole Velusball is. It's the prophecy that Odin. Just so you guys know, Woden, he tries to stop it. His whole big thing. He keeps trying to learn more. He takes many forms. He's always constantly out and about. He wants to hear things. He has Hugin and Mooning, thought and memory. They go out and they tell him things when they come back. And he doesn't want those end times to come. Eventually, obviously, they tell him the Volva. It's like, yeah, you're gonna die by Fenrir. So, without further ado, I'll stop with those just couple signs, and I'll let you continue, Tyler.
So with that, I can already see a couple comparisons. I had to pull up my Bible real quick because I want to read directly from the source here. Uh, brothers will turn on brothers. The same thing is said in the Revelation end times prophecy. And it also goes on to say that there will be wars and rumors of wars. There will be many antichrists and false prophets pretending to be Jesus, pretending to be God. That they're gonna perform all these miracles and marvelous signs and stuff. So
Mm.
there's that. That's a good comparison. And the other comparison is you said in the Ragnarok prophecy there will be an age of adultery, right?
Yes, yes.
As soon as you said that, my immediate thought, and this is kind of funny because I wrote a song about this. The horror of Babylon, Babylon the Great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember. I watched that.
Uh, for those who don't know, the horror of Babylon isn't necessarily an actual person so much as it is an idea, like a mentality. And that mentality is basically saying that sexual immorality, adultery, fornication, all that stuff is okay. When the Bible says that it's not, it's basically the idea of saying that anything sexually impure is actually okay to do.
Mm.
And that includes adultery. I feel like that's probably the biggest one.
Yeah, you do see it a lot today with it can get really confusing because there's like so many times where that has happened. And it's also like if you go to other places, it's not really as encouraged as much. It does get kind of confusing, but it's also like when you understand the fact that I mean, really, it doesn't feel like there's really any other big empires there to come. Like this is the last place that's been colonized and made to a glory, like big, huge empire or whatever. America. So it's kind of like the modern day Babylon. You know what I mean? Like, so it does make
Right.
you wonder, like, what's after that? So it does get confusing because there's been many times in history, like the Romans, Babylon, these things have happened. Any place that ends up becoming really civilized, people start to throw. That's another good thing with like the culture of the Teutons. I believe it touched into like a barbarian. I think it was even in Conan the Barbarian. Even said that old '80s movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he it's like a quote in there, and it's like it might be in that. But overall, barbaric societies, they don't just throw insults at each other. Things are very strict, and it's like you respect, has a high level of respect. But once a society becomes very civilized, it's nothing for somebody to be like, "Oh, you're a faggot," or like, you gay ass, like whatever on Halo server or something. Just saying these names. On top of that, yeah, like you said, sexual stuff. Like you see it in lyrics of all kinds of music. It's like nothing but like fucking crazy videos and um, guys and men and women like bragging. Oh yeah, like stepped out on the the misses or whatever, and fucking just banged out like 8 women at a club or something like that, bragging about it. You know what I mean? It's kind of just like,
Yeah, it
it's
really
like,
is nothing to brag about, at
it's
least
really
in my
not.
opinion.
And yeah, yeah, me too. It's really bad. So I do think it's very interesting because it has you wondering like, is this the final checkpoint? Is this the final Babylon? You know, like the big empire that's like all about like very vain kind of stuff. At times it does, you know, seem like it. And I will say both with both religions there is a theme. Every, there's one theme when you really do think about it. It's like you understand that times are getting worse and times are shitty, but the thing that keeps you strong is you think back to like a golden age, you think back to like your ancestors, and you kind of think back to those morals and those values, and it gives you pride in your day to day. You're like, oh, I know for a fact this is written down, this is passed down in this ancient text, or just from your ancestors or whatever. And, this is the way I live. This is how I should live. Gives you pride and actually makes you happier than literally like probably like 80% of the other people in your country because they really just, that's kind of my take on that. But yeah, I always found that interesting, as you always wondering, like, yeah, is this the final Babylon,
It's a good question. And I would not say whether it is or isn't because honestly, I don't know. And I like to stay away from conspiracies and stay close to factual information as much as I can. I'd rather not just say something just to say it.
Hey,
Unless I can,
absolutely.
yeah. Uh, so the next 2 points, I'll go through the next two because they kind of go hand in hand. I touched the last one in my first point. John sees a vision of heaven. God sits on a throne holding a scroll sealed with 7 seals. No one can open it except for the Lamb of God, which is Jesus. And this moment begins the unfolding of the end times. So that is the first point for this second little segment. And then we have the 7 seals being broken, which is the beginning of the Great Tribulation, or the beginning of tribulation. When the seals are opened, chaos begins on Earth. The first 4 seals release the famous 4 horsemen, which are conquest, war, famine, and of course, death. Global instability, persecution, and disasters begin increasing. By the 6th seal, there's massive earthquakes. The sun darkens, the moon turns to blood or turns red, not literally to blood, but blood red. And people hide in fear of God's wrath. So that kind of goes into what happens right before Armageddon. So I guess on your end, if you want to talk about, we kind of already touched this before we started recording. I don't think I need to remind you. You know what you're doing.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think literally the next little bit, like what? It's like 7 stanzas, literally right before it starts to. Actually, it's more than that, but overall, this whole next like page or two literally just goes into the stuff right before. Same with you, goes into like, or actually, you said right before the Armageddon. So yeah, I have about like 7 stanzas before it touches into the actual battles and the big iconic battles, and then after that, I already kind of have mine where it talks about like the re birth and like the new world basically. So yeah, I'll go right into it. Um, Starting here, the very next one, 45. The giants are at play, and the gods' fate is kindled at the blast of the Gjallarhorn. That's the horn of Heimdall. He blows that horn hard, holds it high aloft. Odin speaks with Mimir's head. The old tree sighs when the giant shakes it. Yggdrasil still stands, but it trembles. Fenrir howls terribly before the doors to hell. The wolf would break its bonds and run. I know much wisdom. I see deep in the future, all the way to Ragnarok, a dark day for the gods. Thrym advances from the east with a shield before him, and the Midgard serpent Jormungandr is in a monstrous rage. The serpent beats the waves, and the eagle screams eagerly, splitting corpses with its pale beak. Naglfar, the giant's ship, is released. That ship sails from the east, bearing giants over the sea, and Loki is its captain. The giants are coming together with Fenrir, and Loki too is with him on that voyage. What news from the gods? What news from the elves? All of Jotunheim is roaring. The Aesir are in council, and the dwarves, creatures of the mountains, tremble by their doors of stone. Have you learned enough yet, All Father? And by the way, before I continue, this whole context is literally what the Volva is saying in case it kind of drags on, you forget like what's going on. But sometimes that's how historically how the Eddas are without like a proper translation. If you just read it, like sometimes the format will kind of run on, you know. Um, so, but just so yeah, it's still the Volva talking. She's still talking to the All Father. Surt or Surtur comes from the south with a bright light in his hand. Yes, the sun shines upon the sword in his grasp, the mountains collapse, the trolls fall, men walk the roads to hell, and the skies divide above. That's kind of cool. I never like taught that before, so it's kind of cool here. But like, I'm just kind of thinking from the mindset if you are like when you're dead, like if I die, imagine somebody like you just freshly dying in like Ragnarok happenings. It's like showing the perspective of even men who died or women who died, and they're just walking the cold road to hell. Going to their afterlife stage where they reincarnate. And you just look up and you just see like the skies dividing, like it's happening while you're just it can happen at any time, and you just some random guy, and it just so happens Ragnarok happens when you die. It's pretty crazy to imagine just in hell and just look up and literally realms are like you know splitting, your skies are dividing. But then comes the second sorrow of Frigg, when Odin goes to fight the wolf, and Frey goes to fight the giant Surt, and Odin, Frigg's husband, who fought a friend here. That kind of came up quick. I thought it was the next page, but I won't go any further. That's kind of getting to the actual battle, but it was just the last thing on this page. But yeah, that's when you start getting to the actual. Probably right then and there, Woden is kind of freaking out. It's kind of like what, like get a Volva telling you that, like, yeah, you're gonna get killed and eaten by the great wolf, and so I'll stop there. But yeah, it's a very much a lot of signs. Um, just so like we can talk about because it's a lot of names, and it seems like for anybody who's not used to like symbolism or anything like that. Like I believe the gods and all these things are real, but also understanding like also there's symbolic meaning. You know, that's very important too. A lot of times when you think of a Jotun, it's anything like destructive. It could be a lot of negative things. When people pray to Thor, like Gunor, even when childbirths happen, you place a Mjolnir on the baby to kind of bless them with strength and all that. There's a lot of like beautiful things for it, but the wearing the Mjolnir in the Viking Age, that kind of like those things that predate like the Anglo Saxons, they wore. Um, they actually did similar to what the Greeks do. They wore the Thunor is longer, so before the Viking Age, the actual hammer, the little handle of it was longer. So the whole myth where it was like the dwarves forged it wrong and it made it short, that apparently didn't exist in the migration area. So even the Anglo Saxons, they wore Thunor amulets, but they did like the Greeks and they wore them on their waist instead of around their neck. But anyway, when they do that, they really, really like Thunor. Like even when Christianization happened, um, even not to like to get too much off topic, but even they were like, oh, we believe in Christ, but even Christ respects and stays away from Thunor because Thunor was always the good guy. He was always like he kept evil away. So think about a giant. It's a really bad translation of what a Jotun actually is. Something destructive, something very evil and bad. You could almost probably connect it, even though it's not like all evil. It is a necessity in a sense. You know what I mean? Got to have the evil and have the good, but still you could almost compare it to like the bad things that become like a antichrist, if you would, or like these signs. And so they put that in a symbolic kind of thing when it says like that ship sails from the east, like Naglfar, the giant ship, and Loki is the captain. He's a very destructive kind of element who tries to bring about the destruction of the gods. Um, it's kind of symbolic too. Like again, I believe these things are real, but it's also understanding what they are. Like I don't see it as some like crazy little wild TV show, it's like real big giants or whatever. It's like there's something way more deep there than what these myths and stuff say. So try to think very destructive elements like chaos, evil that's coming when it says these ships are sailing from the east.
I would
And
compare giants, the Jotun, to probably demons. I feel like that's a fair comparison.
yeah, it's like Yeah, it's like demons, there's kind of destructive things, and that's why I have my strong opinions on it. I don't believe it, and like still respect it. There's nothing that really ever we sat there and debated on whenever we were both pagans, but like I strongly don't believe in worshiping Loki for any like neo pagans out there and stuff. But just because it's not something that's attested at all, and just for me, it's kind of like why would you if he's the one who kind of brings about destruction of the gods? He's not like an all evil being. There's certain things where there's like, of course, there's like complex things, but it's still like it's not something attested because he simply they understood what he was, but it was something they wouldn't want to worship because they want something to heal them. They want something in the hardships of being out there in the cold and the in the harsh times. They want Funor, a strong god to protect them from sickness. So they want the elves, the ancestor spirits of your own like kin to protect you and keep you healthy. Um, so I just wanted to say that because absolutely I do agree. I think like Loki or the Jotun would be kind of like demons in that sense. You can make pretty cool comparison right there. Loki's like you could just say it. It's like almost like the leader, like the antichrist kind of thing.
Yeah.
And all the demons or the Jotun are behind him, sailing on that ship to the east. So yeah. Sorry, I took it. Yeah.
No, you good. So I guess we got into escalation now. We started with the actual vision, then led into escalating. So on my end, for Revelation, the prophecy of the end times, we got the seven trumpets, which I'm sure everybody probably knows about it, but I'll touch into it anyways, just in case, because I'm sure we're gonna have some pagan listeners, some Christian listeners, so some of them might not know about this stuff. So the seven trumpets. Angels sound seven trumpets, each unleashing catastrophic events. Examples of the events that happen whenever the trumpets are blown. We have hail and fire destroy vegetation. A burning mountain falls into the sea. Does that sound familiar, sir?
Yeah. Bro.
Waters turn bitter. Darkness spreads. Demonic creatures torment humanity. And massive armies bring destruction. So this is the very beginning after the trumpets blow of Armageddon. And the point of this, the key point for this one, is the majority of humanity still refuses to repent despite the warnings. Like, basically, how do I put this? In Christianity, repentance is a really big thing. God expects you to repent. You're not expected to be perfect, but you're expected to acknowledge your shortcomings and where you go wrong and try to do better with it. And I guess from what I'm reading here is the end times and Revelation is like the final warning, but humanity still refuses to repent and turn back. So it just keeps escalating and escalating. And then after that, we have the rise of evil powers. And this is where the Antichrist shows up. So we have two major figures here. We have the beast from the sea, which is often interpreted as the Antichrist. He becomes a global ruler demanding worship. And then we have the beast from the earth, which is often called the false prophet. He performs miracles and convinces people to worship the first beast, which is the Antichrist. And together they establish the mark of the beast, or 666 system. And those who do not have the mark of the beast, if you refuse the mark of the beast, you cannot buy or sell anything. So you're basically getting cut off from society and all that stuff. And those who refuse also face persecution or death. And that's as far as I'll go with mine right now. But I'm seeing some similarities with both of them already. I'm
Yeah.
actually seeing constant similarities with them, actually.
Yeah. Literally it's like all the obviously the mountain and stuff and swords are the big kind of connection there. Like that was really cool. A lot of destructive elements. Like it's such a cool like theme you see. It's like something really big, destructive. Like you just kind of see it in so many religions. It's like this. Like you don't know when it's gonna happen. There's a lot of signs, which is what I like. Like, people just try to make so many. Like even the movie. Like I think of like the 2012 movie. People try to make
I
so
remember
many
that
like
movie.
crazy. Yeah, they make so many like things. Where it's like it's gonna happen then. This is the sign. Oh, like you can't. 'Cause I remember that now that you said that, it refreshes me on the whole the mark of the beast, and then like yeah, you can't buy or sell anything if you refuse it. So it was like we were talking about this before, about how like people try to do too much, and they're like, oh, it's like fucking the mark of the beast. It's Monster Energy. It's like fucking Monster Energy drinks, and I'm or it's like the fucking chip that you get where you can only buy and sell with this or whatever. And it's just like it's like you said, it's gonna be very obvious. Like it's gonna be like in your face, gonna ask you, that kind of shit. So it's like too many people. 'Cause I remember hearing that like, when I was Christian and my grandparents went to go to church. I remember hearing a preacher say that. He was just like, it's on your Monster Energy drinks, and it's like mark of the beast right there. You're just sitting there, you're giving into it. And I just remember that. So I asked Tyler about it. And he was like, no. It's like, no, it'll be in your face and you will know.
Yeah, do you
But
mind if I
it's
touch
like,
on that a little
and
bit?
absolutely, yeah.
Because I'm just thinking a lot about it, and there was something else that I just thought about with it. So the mark of the beast, like Cody said, some people believe that it was Monster Energy because it's the Arabic numerals for 666. So they said, oh, that's the mark of the beast. But the thing about the mark of the beast is you cannot be tricked into accepting the mark of the beast. It's an open, willingly rejection of all that is good. So you'll know what it is, you'll know what it represents. And also about what you said about the pastor saying, oh, you're drinking Monster Energy, you're giving into the mark of the beast. Once you receive the mark of the beast, that is the like highest sin. It's something that you can't go back on. Once you get the mark of the beast, then that's it, because it's an open, willing rejection of all that is good. So that is in the Bible. I don't know if you remember this or not, or ever heard it about. There's one sin that cannot be forgiven.
No, no, touch on it.
Oh, well, one sin that cannot be forgiven is blasphemy against the Holy Spirit. So it's basically
Oh, yeah.
the same thing as the mark of the beast. It's an open rejection, open, willing, knowing rejection of all that is good.
Mm.
Like an example of that, and I'm kind of rambling on here a little bit. I apologize, but uh, an example of that sin that can't be forgiven, blasphemy against the Holy Spirit, is whenever Jesus was performing his miracles, he had a crowd around him. He had the Pharisees with him. The Pharisees were the religious leaders back then, and he was healing a paralyzed man. He was helping him walk. He healed him, and he could walk again. And the Pharisees said, "Oh, he's using the power of Beelzebub to heal this man. That's how he's performing his miracles." Whenever they knew that it wasn't a demonic power, it was a holy power. So that's just an example of that sin that can't be forgiven because it's an open, knowing rejection of what is good and what is right.
Yes, it's very, very obvious. It's gonna be like right in your face. There's no weird
Yeah, there's gonna be no question about it.
conspiracies. Yeah, there's like no conspiracies. I think that's also probably a theme anybody can take from no matter what religion and whoever's watching. Like end days, you know, restart of the world. Pretty fucking obvious. I mean, even here in the edits, it literally says, "I've never caught that before." Like, I guess because like I've over the years since like the last time I really got to fully read through it, like never really. I didn't have much of a knowledge, as much knowledge as I do now, and now I'm like, how big would that be? Especially like thinking about my actual own afterlife and things that will happen to me. I thought more about like what will happen, and I'm just imagining like men and women just walking through, hell, Helheim, and you're just walking through your hall or your resting place and stuff to reincarnate. And it's going to be so big that even in the afterlife, like in places like that, like, it'll be so obvious. Like even the dead, the skies will open up above you, and like just realms and things are just like things are just going to change. It's like I guess if you imagine a whole realm, like hell, like your resting place, until you reincarnate, if that's changing and the skies are opening up, and that's just like nuts. And so I mean, that's just kind of a big kind of thing too. Anybody could take away from it. So, nor the conspiracy theories or weird shit. It's just kind of like we pretty much know. It's probably won't happen in our lifetime, but but maybe it can happen anytime. It'll be very obvious. No weird shit to it.
And one thing that I will say, and I always encourage this about the conspiracy theory thing is, yeah, don't give in to conspiracy theories. Don't believe everything that you see or that you read. Always go directly to your source. Try to get your information from the sources as much as you can. Like for me, it would be the Bible and different devotional stories and different biblical texts. And for the pagan side, that would be the Havamal, the Poetic Edda, all the prophecies, sagas, stuff like that. Always go to the sources instead of just believing everything that you just hear online, because a lot of people are going to spread misinformation all over the place and try to lead people astray.
Very good point.
So your next section on
Oh,
yours for
oh,
the Voluspa goes into the actual battle, right?
yeah, my last one, I accidentally touched into that. Battle itself actually kind of that's when like really this last page right here, very next one, it's very important. It talks a little bit about the new world, um, the remaining deities and things from man. Things will happen. So that's kind of what I have left. It's mainly like the battle and um, talking about the old again and Fenrir. So that's what I have. So you left off on if you could recap on that and make sure that lines up. And if not, if it doesn't line up, then you can continue with yours, just so we're on the same timeline.
So mine ended where I left off was the rising of the Antichrist, the mark of the beast, the false prophet. You can't buy or sell without the mark, and people who refuse the mark face persecution and death. I do have one more section. It's about the final judgments or the seven bowls of wrath before mine gets into the actual battle of Armageddon.
And you should probably keep reading them, keep reading, and then read your battle even too. Read the battle as well. So just get a free flow, just keep going, and then after you read your battle, I'll touch into the battle of Ragnarok, and then
Okay,
we'll both talk about the new world.
that sounds perfect. So my next section is, as we said, is the final judgments, the seven bowls of wrath that God pours out on the earth. They are all devastating, and they include painful sores, oceans and rivers turn to blood, scorching heat, darkness over the beast kingdom, and the Euphrates River dries, preparing for final war. And what's interesting about that is that I'm not saying anything. I'm not throwing a conspiracy theory out there. I promise I'm not. But the Euphrates River is drying up. Whether that's relevant or
Mm,
not, I have no clue. It's probably not. It's probably irrelevant, but it is drying up.
mm, mm.
And also, there are I forget whether it's just one or if it's a group of angels that are said to be chained up underneath the Euphrates River. Then whenever the Euphrates River dries up, that's whenever those angels are released and the actual Battle of Armageddon actually like kicks off.
Mm,
So and
mm.
then we move on to Armageddon, the final war. The forces of evil gather for a massive war called Battle of Armageddon. And during this war is whenever Jesus returns, he defeats the beast and the false prophet, and they are thrown into the lake of fire. Didn't really get many notes on that, but and the last thing I'll touch on here, as far as Armageddon goes, is Satan or Lucifer's final fate. He is bound for 1,000 years, for a millennium, and after that, Satan is released briefly. He leads one last rebellion, and he is defeated permanently and thrown into the lake of fire forever. So that was his fate. And that 1,000 years, the millennium, it's called the millennium reign. That's whenever the second coming of Jesus is. He comes back to earth. He rules over the earth for a millennium with all of his followers. And then after that is whenever Satan leads one last rebellion, then he gets defeated forever and he gets thrown into the lake of fire.
That's pretty cool. I like that. Sorry, I'm processing it in a way. It was like it's actually pretty good. Kind of cool hearing it because like I haven't even seen the inside of a Bible in who knows how long, probably close to a decade. But oh, no, no, but no, it was actually really cool like hearing that. Like just all the actual specific stuff. Um, uh, like the rebellion. Actually, I don't even think I remember that. Actually, that's really cool. Like the a second rebellion, like him, like trying to push back against Satan, trying to push back again, and there's gonna be a whole millennium of 1,000 years of Christ ruling, and there'll be like a final battle and stuff, and then it's like permanently. I think that's what you talked to me like a week or two ago about like the whole lake of fire thing that you were saying like a lot of Christians try to use for like fear. And they kind of twisted it. And, like you were like, no, it talks about a lake of fire, but that's not where people go if they don't believe in God. I think that's what you were touching on. It's not like some
Yeah,
people twisted like
I don't believe hell is actually a lake of fire. I believe, and it's actually says it like this in the Bible too, describing hell, is that it is a pure whole separation from all that is good. It's a pure separation from God, from anything that is good and holy. And I just imagined it as a cold place, and a lot of people do, and that kind of lines up with the pagan, the Norse pagan side of it too, of hell.
it does. Yeah, yeah. I already told you about him, but yeah, my coworker, he's a Lumbee, or was my coworker. He's a Lumbee Native American, and yeah, uh, he's Christian, but he believes into it into a very really deep sense as well. And yeah, he said similar things, and he's like, it's like a state of being, basically. It's like what it lines up to what you said. It's not really okay. He was like, where does it say like you yourself are gonna go into it like a fire?
I mean,
It
it says
lines
the
up,
devil will go into a lake of fire. Devil can go into a lake of fire. I don't care. That's fine with me. But it doesn't
Yeah,
say that we will go into a lake of fire that I know of.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, yeah, it's really cool. Micah, okay. So leading up to um the new world, um starts here. Then comes the great son of Odin, Viva, to fight to avenge his father on the wolf. He shoves his sword into the mouth of Fenrir, all the way to the heart, and thus is Odin avenged. Then Thor comes, Earth's son, Odin's son, to fight the Midgard serpent Jormungandr, the protective Midgard. Then we'll kill that serpent in his rage. But all humankind will die out of the world when Thor falls after only 9 steps, struck down by the venomous honorless serpent. So before I continue, that's actually really deep too. Like for some reason, never processed that. I guess, like I said, maybe it's just something with how I really understood with mankind, like what happens to man, just mankind in general at death, or how associated and how deeply connected Thor um, is like connected and how important he is. That's why, like again, we lived through like him and Woden were both still. invoked um, evoked whenever they were Christian. Like even in the nine, uh, was it the nine herbs charm? I think, and then like things like that. Like they still evoke Woden. And same with Unorn. Like, again, it was like Christ is mighty, but he would dare not like shit like that. He would dare not like mess with Thunor. So it's like still even when they were Christian, Thunor was very important because he understood his thing. And so for me, this is really deep. Like I like she's like strikes my heart a little bit. Where it's like it says that all humankind will die out of the world when Thor falls after only 9 steps. I always like the nine. There's definitely like nine is the super important number
Yep.
of
9 steps,
Germanic
9 realms.
religion. Yeah, so it's really deep right there. I'm like the 9 steps right there. Nine is very important in Germanic, along with three. Um, three is very much a both Celtic and Germanic thing, uh, all kinds of stuff. But anyways, he falls after 9 steps, and all humankind will die of the world when he does that. Struck down by the venom of the honorless serpent. So that's like super huge for me because I never caught that before. Like I said, I think what's like really connecting this and like really not just super deep for me and important is I'm catching so far is how much it'll affect the dead. Again, like it says literally the dead who are traveling, people who just freshly died and they're trying to walk the cold long road to hell. Like they're gonna look up and they're gonna see that the skies were torn apart. Again, you just imagine you freshly died. If anybody doesn't know, like you imagine being dead, like you're very confused. It's kind of scary because you're confused. You're like, oh, what happened? And literally, like hell kind of translates to that. It's like hidden place, cold place. And it goes back to the Indo-European word kel, um, which all different languages of Indo-European origin have like their own like cognate for, but um, it's literally supposed to be like that. It's supposed to be a very confusing and cold place when you're traveling there. If you go to that realm, I'm just kind of noticing how much this will affect like men and women who are basically dying or who are in the world. For me, it's like I can't even imagine that, but starting to now it's like, Thunor is kind of like for me is a side of like Ingwe so far in my life. They've been the most important gods for me. Thunor especially because it's strength and that's something that's like health and kind of protects and keeps evil away. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, it says the sun turns black, the earth sinks into the sea, the bright stars fall out of the sky, flames scorch the leaves of Yggdrasil. A great bonfire reaches to the highest clouds. Fenrir howls terribly before the doors to hell. The wolf will break its bonds and run. I know much wisdom. I see deep in the future, all the way to Ragnarok, the dark day for the gods. That was the battle, and pretty much the next bit of it goes into the new world. What's going to happen after?
That's kind of perfect because that's exactly where my next point goes is the final judgment and then the new creation.
Cool. All right. I like it.
Any thoughts on comparisons between the two before I jump into that? I know we kind of had a brief getting off topic a little bit, but
I really like um, I don't know. I think both also kind of include mankind into a lot. It really does make sure it shows it's gonna be almost like this really big connection, like super like probably this like spectacular, crazy, almost scary thing to see because it's almost just like the Greek painting you think I think it's the Greek one where it shows like the man reaching up. It's like the iconic one. It shows the god and their fingertips are like barely touching. I think it's supposed to like symbolize like the divine touching man. I don't know if you've ever seen that painting. It's like really iconic, and it's just like a god like reaching down,
yeah,
and
that's
he's like,
Michelangelo, wasn't it?
yeah, I think so. Yeah, I always think of that. Like I'm thinking of that. It's gonna be something almost scary because it's when the divine meets like I guess man's world. In terms of like I don't know, physical, like something scary, spectacular. So yeah, it really shows that. It shows it truly is. It's a huge battle. Like even the divine will struggle with. You know, I mean, shit, you got Thor. I mean, now even for me is Thunor is like super important for me. You know, I understand his function, and like I always want him to. Like I feel very happy and proud. You know, like with my dog, sometimes she'll like be silly and she'll want to wear one too. So I have like quite a few of them. You know, she'll wear one, and I think it's always a good thing. You know, when you know you put a Mjolnir when a baby's born, you put a Mjolnir on a baby, and really associate. And if anybody doesn't know, that's why I'm even content with that. Like I understand I'm not a part of an aristocracy, or I'm not even in the warrior class anymore. Like I left the army and stuff. So for me, I most likely won't die in an honorable context. A good chance I probably won't. But I'm fine with that because if I could, I would be fine with Blue Norse Hall, which if anybody doesn't know, the uh, the ancient term like peasant isn't really like a bad thing. People think peasant and they think something really bad, but it's really not. It just means working class, like workers, things like that, like people who
Your
build and
average person.
people just sit average person. And that's what Thunor is the god of, of like mankind. He protects all. He's not the god of kings. You know, like every royal like genealogy thing, like even the queen who died recently in England, she claimed descent from Alfred the Great. And Alfred the Great, even in the late Viking Age when he was, or like not late, but the middle Viking Age when he was trying to push the Vikings out, he's still, even though he's Christian, he still claims descent from Woden. Like, oh no, I descend from Woden. You know, that's huge. Like so it's just kind of like that's kind of like before I get more off topic, like, that's really showing for me for a God that's very important to me, a God of all men, somebody who protects men and women and children. Um, it shows how much it'll affect the divine. And then like yours you read was huge struggle, huge battle, between Christ and then Lucifer leading a second rebellion. And it's a rebellion, and it's supposed to be a huge, you know, pretty huge battle,
Yeah.
And in terms of men, I believe, wasn't it true with Christianity? Like God's followers also fight for Him in the end days, just like how Odin he tries to recruit people for like the Einherjar to fight for him in the end days. Isn't that a similar thing too?
From what I can remember, yes. I would have to go back and actually read it again, like read the
Okay.
actual prophecy in my Bible again to know
Mhm.
100%. But I think so. I don't think all of
I
them do. I
thought,
think there's some of them that do.
you know, by the way, I was thinking about that too because I feel like I remember it too, but I wasn't for sure, so I didn't want to definitely make that connection. But either way, feel like it was. But I do remember too, definitely, obviously in Norse they're called the Einherjar, and Odin slaying like he chooses people for a reason. It's like, oh, you're really important when you look at it from a practical sense. It's like, oh, you died. How well did you die? Did you die like really well? You know what I mean? Were you like pretty valiant? Okay, I'll take you. And then, obviously, if he doesn't take you, then Freya takes you to her hall, the other half. So it's very important. They have that too because they understand the future, what's going to happen. They want as many people as they can to fight like that. So shows how important that is.
Um, I will say before we move on to my final judgment and the new creation, as far as my end, comparisons between the two so far from that last part is darkness covering the earth. I noticed that seems to be a recurring theme throughout both of them. Because in mine, it's talking about darkness covering the beast's kingdom, and also stars falling from heaven or stars falling from the sky. That's also mentioned in the Bible and the end times prophecy. Stars falling from heaven. Some people say that stars represent angels falling from heaven
Mm.
because Satan leads his other rebellion. He turns a bunch of angels against God. All this stuff. And the last comparison I can think of right now are the heavens splitting apart. Like how you saying
Mm.
it would happen with the nine realms, the skies would fracture and split, and you'd be able to see everything tearing apart. That's also something that gets mentioned in on my side of it as well. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm. So again, it's like this really does show, no matter like what religion, it's like it's gonna affect everybody. Like everybody's gonna notice it, you know, like, in all realms. So it's insane.
But anyway, I guess we'll move on here and wrap this up. We'll probably not wrap it up. We'll probably have a lot to talk about. But
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah.
so the final judgment, and for those who don't know, there are two judgments for on the Christian side of things. There's two judgments that you face. You face one judgment whenever you die, and you enter heaven or go straight to hell. And there is another judgment called the Great White Throne Judgment that happens at the Battle of Ragnarok that decides your official forever resting place where you're going to be at for all eternity. So after the Battle of Armageddon, the Satan is defeated, the Antichrist is defeated. Everyone who has ever lived is judged at the Great White Throne. And the way that they are judged is based on how they live their lives, basically. And there's a book that Christ has called the Lamb's Book of Life. Your name is either written in it or it's not written in it. That's known since the beginning, since you were born. He knows whether your name's going to be in it or not. And if your name is written in the Book of Life, you're good. And if it's not, then you face eternal judgment.
Sounds a lot like the Norns. Your fate's already spun, before you were
Yeah.
born. Like they were already spinning your fate. Yeah,
That's a similarity that I didn't think about that you brought up. So,
it's pretty cool.
and we go into the new creation, where God restores creation. He restores the heaven, the earth, and once again, the John the Apostle, not John the Baptist. I know I said that before, but I'm saying it again because some people get them confused. John the Apostle is seeing all of this in a vision that he's getting from Jesus, and he's writing all of it down in the book of Revelation. And he sees a new heaven, a new earth, and the new Jerusalem descending from heaven. And I want to say the new Jerusalem doesn't mean that Jerusalem, as we know it now, is going to be revived exactly how it is. The new Jerusalem is just the new kingdom on earth. It's what the earth is going to be called after it gets restored after the Battle of Armageddon.
Mm.
So everybody that their name was in the Lamb's Book of Life, they'll be part of the new kingdom on earth, which is the new Jerusalem. And it will be a perfect earth where there is no death, there is no suffering, no pain, and can't talk. God dwells with humanity forever. And this is the ultimate restoration of everything that was broken.
Mm. Mm.
Like how I fucked up and I said Guad instead of God.
Oh,
Damn it all.
no. I was laughing a bit to literally like say earlier, like I just like read ahead to make sure I was in the right spot, and it's making me laugh 'cause I'm like, oh, I already got like fucking five similarities. It's like a really big recurring theme, and I was like, oh, I want to read something very familiar.
I'm sure we'll have some.
Oh yeah. All right. Am I ready for mine?
Yeah, mine's done. That covered all 10
Okay.
points on mine. From
Okay.
the
Was there
beginning to
anything?
the very end of it.
Okay. Was there anything you wanted to cover before I read mine for the end day or the new days?
So,
All right. Well, mine starts here. Stanza 57, the Buddhist bow. I see the earth rise a second time from out of the sea, green once more. Waterfalls flow, and eagles fly overhead, hunting for fish among the mountain peaks. The Aesir meet on Etherval and regard the bones of the Midgard serpent, and where they recall the great events of Ragnarok and Odin's old wisdom. Um, there they will find once more the wonderful golden game pieces in the grass, which they had once played with in the earliest days. Probably Niflheim. If anybody knows that Norse game, I like to play that.
I know.
Um, yeah, it's fun. Probably what they're playing. Fields will bear harvest without labor. All sickness will disappear. Balder will come back. Balder will come back. Hoth and Balder will live in Odin's hall, as well as other gods. Have you learned enough yet, Allfather? Then Honir will speak forth his prophecies. The two sons of Odin, the two brothers, will inhabit the heavens. Have you learned enough yet, Allfather? I see a hall standing there, more beautiful than sunlight, thatched with gold and gimlet. There bold men will dwell and enjoy cheer throughout their lives. Then the dark dragon will come flying down from the mountains. That glistening serpent, Nithold, will bear corpses in its wings as he flies over that valley. Now I must retire. So it leaves off on like a. I never caught off on how like kind of like crazy that just leaves off. Like the Vova, like the dark dragon will come flying down from the dark mountains. The glistening serpent and will bear corpses in his wings, which flies over the valley. It
I
leaves off
can't
on a
get over how many similarities there were just for that one section. Like, holy shit.
so many. Yeah, very much
Now I
like
know why you was laughing
going
about it
back.
whenever you was reading.
So many. I want to read through a couple of them again just to really absorb that, to have people absorb that. But like, yeah, it says like fields will bear harvest. I really like when it says too, the Aesir meets on Ethaval and regard the bones of the Midgard serpent, and they'll recall the events of Ragnarok, Odin's old wisdom. So it'll be like a lot of even the gods will be a lot of reminiscing, and even Odin's wisdom will still stand, and there's still always something that's forever, his wisdom. But uh, yeah, it's just the fields will bear harvest without labor, and how like fucking great that sounds. All
Hmm.
sickness will disappear,
Hmm.
and then
Sounds
Balder,
familiar.
it does, and Balder will come back.
And what is Balder the
Um,
god of?
yeah, light,
Light.
like light and beauty. Yes,
Very
awesome ways
similar
there.
to
And,
Jesus, if I dare say so myself.
yeah, and then Hoth, even Hoth, even the god who accidentally killed Balder, like they'll live together. Hoth and Balder will live in Odin's hall, as well as the other gods. And then Honir will speak of the prophecies, will speak forth his prophecies, and the two sons of Odin, the two brothers, will inhabit the heavens. And, um, but yeah, in the hall, the beautiful hall there, it talks about that. Just, more beautiful than sunlight, stashed with gold. It's gonna be a beautiful golden hall in the new days there, in like
And
the
that's
heavens and
how
stuff.
heaven is depicted as well, with streets of gold.
Hmm. Yeah, they're bold men. Well, it says men. Yeah, so they're at Gimel. They're bold men will dwell and joy cheer throughout their lives. So it's pretty huge. Yeah, it's a very beautiful thing.
Oh, I want to point out one
Yeah.
thing because I felt bad after I said it. My comparison between Balder and Jesus wasn't me saying that they're the same person or that one copied the other. I was just making that comparison because in the Bible, Jesus is referred to a couple times as the light bearer. That was a nickname given to him. So that's why I made that comparison. I wasn't trying to. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, there is. It's like a um. You think about Balder when he's in hell. He's gonna be there till Ragnarok. And like the rebirth of the world. It's kind of like a huge thing, like a coming.
I'll let you finish, but I just thought of something else too.
Okay, I'll make it quick. Yeah, just like the coming of him, and he returns after the prophecy's been fulfilled, and then he lives out his days in charge, like him and Hoth, and two sons of Odin, and then men and stuff. So basically, it's like gods who kind of come back, and then they get to live. It's new gods in charge and stuff. So very fascinating.
This is blowing my mind the more I think about it. Okay, so the more I think about it, there are a lot of comparisons between the themes of Balder and Jesus. Balder was the god of light. Jesus, people called him the light bearer. Also, they both died. They both went to hell. I don't know if you know that or not, but whenever Jesus was crucified, he went to hell, or as it was called back then, Sheol, for 3 days,
Oh, yeah, yeah. I forgot about that.
and
Yeah.
then he came back.
Oh,
And then both of them come back in the second resurrection in the end days, and they both rule over everything. I don't know
that's
why
crazy.
that is so mind blowing to me, but it is.
That's very, it's very mind blowing. Wow. Yeah, I forgot all about that. Like when Christ died, yeah, he literally goes to hell. That's where he stays. He just like it stays there, and then yeah, he literally becomes the ruler after that. Like it's just mind blowing. It's literally yeah. I never studied up a whole lot on Boulder. Like I know the stories and what happened, but I never like studied and really like in depth thought about that. And
You should. It's a very beautiful story.
yeah, it's just mind blowing.
As a Christian, I
Uh,
love Balder's story.
yeah, like I know the story. I was just like never like went into depth with like how much like the similarities and just like the impact that really is. Like all of this, like for some reason this is like really clicking for me. There's like a lot more emotion to it. Even that kind of bring like hits my heart, you know, 'cause it's kind of like how much it'll affect mankind. You know, like I said, I'm just putting myself in those shoes of somebody, you know, who's walking the way to hell. It's cold. You're confused. You're trying to just make it to your resting place to reincarnate. And you see like the skies above you just open up and you're like, what? I just died and now something else crazy is happening. Like I can't even imagine the confusion, you know, for somebody dying and trying to go to their resting place and then how yeah, I mean just the gods themselves, you know, like what will happen. Like I mean speaks of just Balder and Horth, you know, and then Bronya, uh, just them in the hall. Like every god you knew and like deity, you know, it's just kind of like Woden, you know, Thunor, just just gone, you know, dead. It's like very um yeah, it's really like when you really read it and you kind of absorb like what's gonna happen, how that'll affect everybody. It's pretty crazy. And all the signs, that's like really deep too. Like it covers so many like comparative
Oh yeah,
signs. That was pretty cool. You know, there's so many signs and like really if people just don't see it as like, oh, it's like this cool thing. It's kind of like you just imagine it like from a game like I don't even know. Like your mind's like can't take it seriously. You just think some like video game, everything's gonna be fun, and you're just imagining like actual giants, like all these things, you know, like from video games or movies. It's like no, you really have to understand like what the translation meant when you really translate something that Jotun doesn't mean giant. It's just a shitty translation of it. You know,
right.
it's something way destroyer. It's a destructive element. It's something bad. You know, and you know, why does Thor defend against that? Why does Thor fight and kill them? You know, kill those things. Why do people summon and invoke and pray to Thunor? Why do they put a Thunor on a baby or put a Mjolnir on a baby?
You're cutting out.
And it's just like when you really start to compare these things. Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, you're
Can you
cutting
hear me?
out for a second.
Oh shit. Okay. What did you hear?
Nothing from the last 10 seconds.
Fuck. Uh, Overall, just like you know, not like understanding it for actually like what it is. Um, not just I don't know. Like when you really read the myths and you understand like what each thing is, like, you know, Jotun, understand why does Thunor kill Jotun? You know, why does he fight and defend people? Why do you put a Mjolnir on a baby when they're born? Why do you pray to Thunor when it's died? Why you know why do you do all these things? And yeah, it's because it's more than just something that's a shitty translation. It's not a giant. It's not something from a video game that's gonna be cool or something huge. It's something deeper than that. And really, when you understand what the myth is, you understand what these things are for the end times. You can make a very mature and really smart person, when you start talking about other religions. So for me, that was really cool. Comparisons where it's like the Yultons and Loki leading them, leading them to the east, and um, really something, like a leader of it, this destructive element. What does that sound like? Sounds like the Antichrist, and just all these destructive elements that he's leading, and all the followers and shit like that. Yeah, very much like that. So that was really cool for me, like really reading through that, and I'm just like, oh, very similar. And they both talk about the sickness, famine,
Yep.
brothers killing each other. Yeah,
There's
very
a
deep.
lot of similarities, like a scary amount.
Yeah, yeah. And keep in mind too, you said there was like 20 chapters or so in Revelations, so it's
Yeah,
quite a bit
there's
to
a
cover.
lot more to it than what I covered. I just went through the main themes and topics of each one. But there are, let me see here. There's a lot to it. 22 chapters.
22. Yeah. So it would have been a lot we talked about, and we're like, well, to go through all of them, it would have been like I don't know, a full episode, if not maybe and more. I'm trying to just go through like 20, just trying to condense the notes down to fit try to take notes from 22 chapters. So it would have been multiple sessions. So we were like, Tyler was like, let's just do the main key points and take the notes on that, and then essentially compare that to Ragnarok, because the Voluspa goes for how many pages here? Voluspa goes for about 16 pages for that chapter, but like there's only like 3 or 4 pages of that. 16 pages that are actually of the end days. They kind of cut it pretty quick. 4 pages of stuff just for Ragnarok. And, the rest of it's pretty much the forming of man and all that. So yeah, we were talking about that, and it was like, yeah, it's only 2 chapters. It's kind of a lot. So, but that could be another idea too. Speaking of that, again, like that was what like only like 4 pages of stuff I went through, and I went pretty quick. That's what we could also do that sometime. Do Genesis and
Oh,
do
oh, yeah.
the
Oh, you're cutting out again.
well, oh, can you hear me? Sorry about that.
We can do Genesis something.
Oh, we do Genesis, yeah, because um, what's that? There's only 4 pages or so of the Votive Spot being about Ragnarok.
Mhm.
So, that's like 12 pages or 10 pages of stuff I can read through of comparative stuff talking about Genesis, or like comparing it to Genesis and how man came to be and the myth and all that and the beautiful stories about the gods and the coming to be. So that'd be pretty cool too. We can do some comparison on that.
I would love to do that. That'd be really interesting. And it'd be very fitting because we just covered the end of days and destruction of everything. So, next logical
Yeah.
step would be creation.
Yeah. Cool. This was academic though. Like, it's just very like enlightening for me. I've read through it before, but like I think the last time we did it was when we were in a kinder, and then we did a group call, and we were like reading it, but kind of like half-assed. We're kind of reading through it, and we were just mainly talking about like theories, and we're like, oh, we were just talking like, oh, do you think it's already happened, or do you think it's like yet to come? And we didn't really get a whole lot out of it in terms of the like symbolic stuff and like what that's going to mean for like real things that are coming and warnings. So I don't think it struck the heart as much. Um, but like hearing that and then hearing the Christian side of it, really seeing it really kind of shows an impact of how that's gonna, you know, really fucking like make shit's gonna go crazy. You know what I mean? Like it's gonna be really
Oh, yeah.
obvious. So that was really enlightening. Just like all the even the stuff on your end was like really crazy, um, like I forgot about that, like the whole second rebellion, you know what I mean, and like how it's specifically the Antichrist and how like I forgot about if you accept or if you deny it, you can't buy and sell. Like there's just like little like specific details. Like that's pretty cool. Like, oh wow, that's like pretty specific, so to be really obvious, like you deny whatever that is, that mark of the beast, and basically your life will be a lot harder for like no buying and selling and stuff, and it'll be basically harder to do what's right. And even just that saying that in itself is pretty deep. And that's like a whole topic you can probably do an episode on talking about like in a world it's pretty much what both Ragnarok and Revelation kind of covers. It's like in the end days, it's basically going to be really hard to do what's right. It's going to be much easier just to fall in line and be bad like everybody else essentially.
Yeah, but on the Christian side of that, if you do give into it, then it's eternal damnation, which
Hmm.
is that's the
Yep.
scary part about it.
Yep.
So definitely got to be
So
careful.
absolutely.
But
Yeah, that's
that was a good episode. We didn't get to an hour and a half. We're at an hour and 16 minutes, but I feel like that's probably one of the most ones that I had the most fun with so far. There was a
me
lot in that.
too. Me too. Yeah. Like I was really glad, again, like I said, I'm really glad even just reading one chapter so far of Culture of the Teutons, that helped me because of like the deep understanding. So like even certain things that both Christian and pagan said where it talks about like family turning on each other, like brothers, like your own blood, like somebody you love, and you just were fine with like turning on them and killing them. It really has me to understand like a true honorable standpoint, even just like Teutonic culture aside, but just like a true like moral and honorable thing where it's like family first, no matter what kind of standpoint. Like it's kind of like really heartbreaking, especially though for Teutonic people because it's the ultimate horror, So that really puts in my mind like, well, that's the ultimate horror, and it's like everybody in the community would be like, why did that guy down the road do that? Why did he kill his own brother? That's the most disgusting and like worst thing. That's the worst like thing you could do. There's just nothing worse. And you know, to think about Ragnarok, the end days, or Revelation for that matter, just people just doing that regularly, like adultery, like all these like really strict things that you shouldn't do. It's just like, it's just wild. I mean, you do see it a bit. I think you are seeing it more, just like family turning on each other. Hell, my own mother, that's how she is. Like, it's really surprising. It's like, just really weird. Like she'll smile to you. Just normal. She's done that. My own mother. Can you hear me? Hello?
I think we're having technical difficulties.
Oh no. Can you still hear me though?
I can now.
Oh God.
It keeps going
That's
in and out.
terrible. Is there a storm picking up over there?
I don't know. Let's wrap up the episode real quick, and I'm gonna go check on
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, might as well before something bad happens. All right. All right. So yeah, but there's a lot of deep stuff. And, we could do like a whole review and recap on it, but the biggest thing is we're gonna keep doing these. We got a lot of rich, beautiful information. There's just countless things we can do with this. So next time though, I think we're gonna be touching the Genesis and the value spot at the beginning, forming of mankind. That's gonna be badass. So before this video cuts out, interrupts, and we lose this forever, and we have to bullshit through another version of this, we'll go ahead and wrap it up. So everybody, we really, really hope this helps, brings a lot of people inspiration, and maybe to do it with your friends too, like sit in a room with like anybody who has friends who are like, oh, you're Christian, you're pagan, or I'm a different religion, you're a different religion. Sit in a room and compare, like a friendly comparison. It's really fun. It's like really cool because especially if you're true friends, and you really care about each other's religion, and you're like, oh, it's fascinating. You'll have a lot of fun. Like I had a blast with this. Like I thought that was cool because I
I did
used to
too.
be Christian, and I was like, oh, I never knew it said that. Like it's so cool. Like I really like that. Like, there's a lot of cool, fascinating stuff. And I'm like, whoa, makes my gears start to run. So, yeah, we had a lot of fun. was beautiful. Uh, I feel better after it. Tyler feels better after it. And I hope people who watch it feel better and they do the same thing with their friends. So, guess without further ado, before it starts cutting out, um, Guten Morgen, Guten Abend, Guten Tag, no matter what time of day you're watching. We thank you very much for watching for Teutonic Tangents and listening in. And we'll be seeing you guys again very soon. Just